Okay, I'm back. So what happened was my memory stick filled up and I had to go and empty it onto the computer. And anyway, so I'm trying to remember where I was. It was a little while ago. Oh, it was this newspaper, and it was Dr. Gary was my boss. One of the best bosses I ever had in my life. But he was introducing new teachers that were at Ukiah High School. And Phil Gary, I'm trying to think of a good way to describe him. He was all business, had a very dry sense of humor. If you've seen William H. Macy in a movie, if they ever did a movie on Dr. Gary's life, he would have to star William H. Macy, but now we've gone years past that, so anyway, long story. He was a great man. I left to go to a job that made a whole bunch more money. I'd worked there for 6 years, and I left to go to CTAP, and I love CTAP, and I love the people I work with. I still consider them family. But I knew instantly that it was a mistake, that I was going to miss teaching. And I told Phil Gary, and Phil was disappointed that I was leaving, but understood because I was making $30,000 a year as a teacher, and I got a job making 60-something thousand. And so I thought it was the right thing to do for my family. Anyway, Phil Gary was just this great principal. He was strict. He put teachers in their place when they needed to be. He came down on me a couple times, and I knew I was wrong. And he was brilliant. Probably one of the most brilliant men I've ever met. Now, when I left there and went on to CTAP, I worked with Dave Johnston. He was my manager, and he was another one of the most brilliant men I've ever met in my life. Anyway, so I was blessed to have known both of them. And after I left, shortly thereafter, Phil retired. And again, I moved out here to Tennessee. We don't need to go into all this, but to make a long story short, that was Phil Gary. All right. What else do I have? Oh, it's another Dad, It's Your Day thing. This one, though, is for me. This is to me from my family, and Maya's signature is on there. Becky always made sure she got all the people's signatures. This one even has Michael on here. Bobby, Megan, Becky, Emily, and David. Anyway, those things are important to me. Kelseyville High School graduation commencement in 2014. I worked for another great man, Matt Cockerton. I understand is retiring this year, and I really kind of had one of these dreams of going back someday to California and working for Matt again, but it's not going to be. I will never probably move from here again. But anyway, this was, I believe this might have been when Megan and Robert graduated. Anyway. Barnes, Cook, Graham. This might have just been my last year there. I'm not sure this was the year Bobby and Megan graduated. I believe they graduated before that. Anyway, that was another job that I'm proud to have had. I'm proud to have the job I have now, too. I work at Jellicoe High School in Jellicoe, Tennessee, and it's a blessing. And when I first got here, I felt like I had settled. I felt like, well, it's the only job I could get. I'm going to take it, and then eventually I'll move on to a good job. And I have found that I love these kids, and I love being here. We actually trying to sell our house in Rocky Top, which used to be Lake City, which used to be Coal Creek. Anyway, so we're here in Jellicoe now, and we're going to be buying this house as soon as our other house sells. But I feel really blessed, and this year I actually get to start a computer class, so that's going to be kind of exciting. And they still don't quite understand what it is I'm trying to do, the students or the administration, but I hopefully we'll get there soon. Anyway, so on to some other stuff. What is this random stuff? These are action figure digests, and these are from the 90s. And toy collecting was huge in the 90s, and it was a great thing because it showed all the old action figures and whatnot. And I was really into buying and selling action figures at the time. And there were some I bought for $5 or $6 and sold for $400 or $500. And then there were a bunch I bought for, 20 or 30, and they're worth about $3 now, so it kind of balanced out. I sold almost all of my action figures when I moved out here to Tennessee for the last time. And I sold a lot of them in a big lot, and I still have several boxes in there of things that were for some reason important to me, for one reason or the other. And I may go through them too. And actually I was going to toss these, but I may save them just because I still enjoy looking at them and remembering that, these are the action figures that I was getting. So it's not just the action figures, it's the era of the action figures. So anyway, I'm going to put these in this big ugly green box. So some of these other things, it looks like I have so much random stuff in this pile. November 1931, American Childhood. Alright, and I have September 1931 as well, but it's got Indian Life in the Social Studies, The Country School and the Child's Health, Today's Kindergarten, Suggestions for November Art. So they're teacher things, and I have always been a collector of teaching related things. Alright, it's even got some like patterns and stuff in here that you can follow. So I've always kind of meant to go through these and see what I could do with it. Maybe update it, modernize it. I'd like to maybe keep them in the box, but then I'll never do anything with them. Although if I keep them out, I'll probably never do anything with them either. So maybe I'll just put these away. But there's a couple of them, and they're kind of precious to me because I know that someone almost 100 years ago was a teacher looking at these and looking for ideas and struggling the way we do, where we hang out on Pinterest or something. But it's some neat stuff. I mean, it literally does have plans and stuff in here that you could follow. And this is Quaint Bookends, a home life project. How the catfish lost his scales. It's got stories and everything else. I'm going to put these away, and then hopefully someday Megan will want them. I really kind of picture my son David going into teaching someday, but I don't want to tell him that because I don't want him to be swayed one way or the other. And honestly, Bobby would be a good teacher. He's got the compassion. He likes to talk. Anyway, this is a Trees of Mystery sign. And what they used to do is they would put the wire through here, and you would go up to stop at Trees of Mystery, which is where Paul Bunyan and Babe the Big Blue Ox were. And they had a gift shop and trails through the woods. But you would go into shop, and then they would come out and they'd put this on your car. So you'd come out and you'd have one on there, and you would drive away, and everybody for 100 miles away would see that you went there. But that's something that's special to me because the Paul Bunyan Trees of Mystery place is amazing. I almost think someday when I die, I would like them to scatter my ashes somewhere near Paul Bunyan or across the street at the Motel Trees. Those places are special to me, and I'll probably talk more about them in other videos. But yeah, here's Tusayan, a village, a canyon village, 1185 AD. This is from a trip that we took with the kids and Jerry and Barbara, my wife's parents, and we got to look at these old Indian ruins in Arizona, I believe it was. This one is near Grand Canyon. This might be a different one. That might be one that was near the cliff. Anyway, I'll save that in here. this is kind of another ironic thing. So this picture, it says obese, and down here it says hazard warning, obesity epidemic, symptoms, weight gain, stupidity, laziness, jolliness, etc. Anyway, this is from these things that keep coming out that say obesity epidemic, and in the screen right now, this looks forward, but to me it's reverse. So I think the screen has us flipped. Anyway, it's kind of weird that this came up because today there was a big thing about the obesity epidemic, and an epidemic is something that spreads. It's an infection that can spread to other people. And so this epidemic is like, if you're near me, you'll also get fat. And so I made this years ago. I had a website, what was it? Above Average. And I had shirts that said, I'm not fat, I'm above average. And does this shirt make me look fat? And it came in like size 10X and things like that. Anyway, I never really did a lot with it, but it was just kind of weird to see that in my pile of stuff. This is an iron-on. And again, that's why it's reversed, even though in the screen here it's not reversed. Anyway, I'll put that in there. This is from my stepsister Stephanie, and we were kind of pen pals for a long time. When she got in trouble at our house, she got sent to her sorry. It was basically her asking questions about her dad and things like that. We had a love-hate relationship, really. We were good friends, but also didn't like each other, which was weird. I'm going to leave that in there because it's kind of part of my history. Oregon Caves National Monument. It's the place where the most embarrassing situation that ever happened in my life happened. And that was... Oh, and this is kind of interesting. This is an Oregon Caves thing here, where I was sending the postcard to Alpha Labs, which is where I worked in Ukiah, Alpha Analytical Laboratories. And anyway, to make a long story short, in the drive there, it just was so crowded and hot in the car, and Tom wouldn't use air conditioning because it overheated the car. And so it was just getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and like, this is gross, but my underwear just got sweaty and wet. So when we stopped, I took them off and put them in the trunk and went into the caves in just my jeans. Well, we were going through the Oregon Caves tour, and then we got to the end where you had to climb up this big metal ladder. And so I'm about halfway through the line, I guess. And I go in as I'm walking through the caves, it tore this little tiny piece on the side of my pants, and from a sharp part of a rock sticking out. So when we got to this ladder, I go and I hike my leg up to step on that rung, and as soon as I put my leg up, I felt this rip, and it basically ripped like an entire around my crotch on the inside, and so that anybody that was below me looking up saw just nothing but skirt. It was terrible. It was the most embarrassing thing that I ever think I experienced. This is an old postcard, 1978, of the Redwoods, back when the Redwoods still looked like that. This is the chandelier tree, one of the drive-through trees. None of those are addressed or anything. Universal Studios tour back in the day. You can kind of see the Klingons, not the Klingons. Oh my gosh, it was from Battlestar Galactica. I'll remember as soon as I turn the camera off. Anyway, does it say on there? No, it does not. That's going to drive me crazy now. It just says Evil Aliens. That's pretty sad. What is the name of that? Anyway. And then this was something that my dad actually sent me a postcard It's from Hawaii, but it says pineapple prints for framing. It says, Rob, what do you think of this hole? Can you imagine the explosion that would cause this kind of crater? Love, Dad. I had never gotten a letter from him or a postcard or anything, so I held on to this. It is so ironic that I held on to these kind of things from him, and he held on to these kind of things from me, and we never had that connection. My sister Lori has always been kind of jealous of that, I think, of that we had this connection, and we really didn't. She had so much more of a connection on the phone and stuff with him, and, you know, anyway. Here's another Ukiah Daily Journal. I mentioned earlier the Holocaust project we did, and this is April 4th, 1998, and underneath here you can see me working with students, and these are photographs of my class and stuff, so that's me teaching, and that's Alicia Griffin and Jessica Killen. These are when I was teaching 7th grade. Oh my gosh. These things are just amazing. My brother and I used to do these little quizzes, and my sister too a little bit later, but this is back when I was Robbie. So what we would do is we could say, if you could own one place, if you could live in one place, if you could marry anyone, etc. Own a chain of restaurants, own 3 animals, what would they be one age. So mine was, if I could own one place, it would be Disneyland. If I could live in one place, it would be the mountains. If I could marry anyone, it would be Linda Ronstadt. If I could own a chain of restaurants, it would be McDonald's. If I could own 3 animals, it would be a dog, a cat, and a horse. And if I could be any age, it would be 25. So, it's interesting. Back in the day when we used to go to Marriott's Great America, they had a big Looney Tune kind of thing there. When we went to Four Corners, I took my kids there years ago and actually sat in the Four Corners spot, so my butt was in 4 states at the same time. That's, you know, that's a feat. This is Monument Valley. Monument Valley to me is one of the most magical places. I don't know why. You're out in the middle of the desert, there's nothing there, but it's amazing. My battery looks like it's going dead, so I may have to recharge. If it stops, we'll figure it out. Alright, here's some postcards from Disneyland. We all know what Disneyland is, so I won't bother you with that. This one says, to Robbie, and this is from my cousin Kim Tripp. And it's got questions like, do you like school? What is your favorite movie? What is your favorite color and number? Is it fun at your dad's? Do you like to draw? And anyway, my favorite movie at the time was E.T. Interesting. My favorite color was blue, etc. Anyway, my cousin Kim was another special person in my life. Kim's mom, Margie, my Aunt Margie, is not doing well right now. I'm thinking she has just days left. Here's another letter from Kim. Remember, you and me were going to live in and travel in a little Porsche. It was actually a Corvette, but I hope you can I borrow your tape, Poor Pitiful Me? I will give it back. She didn't. Never forget that hot day during the summer. First thought I was going to drown. That's a story for a later time as well. Alright, here's another Marriott's Great America. Here's one of these postcards that changes as you look at it from a different angle. Who knows, when you're watching this, maybe they don't have those anymore. This man here, Chris Gibson, he is a man that saved my life. Alright, I'm going to do a whole video talking about him and probably cry like a little baby. But I'm going to save that picture out so I remember to do that. This is my driver's handbook from, holy cow, 39 years ago?